What is up, my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolved video. So in today's video, we're going to be doing the Swordcraft reveals for set 8. I'm very excited to see what new cards we're going to be getting. As of the late videos we've been seeing, there's Omens support in Swordcraft, so now we're going to see some Usurpation cards and Thief stuff, so I'm wondering what kind of upgrades they're going to get in this set. Okay, so starting with our first card, we have Aether of the Warrior Wings. So she's a 3-cost 2/3, and at the start of your end phase, if there are at least 7 Swordcraft followers in your cemetery, give each follower on your field +1/+1. While she comes into play fanfare, you search your deck for a commander or officer card, reveal it, and add it to your hand. Alright, so I think this is a really good card to hit off of Courtly Dance just to go ahead and buff up everything on your field. And this is a pretty crazy card to go with Leonidas Resolve too, but you know, that's a little bit of an older card. But outside of that, just playing this in the mid game to also play for 3 to get a commander or officer card, whatever you need, and then hitting it off of Courtly Dance for the end of turn effect. And then next up we have Dionne Dancing Blade, so she's a 3-cost 3/3. You can evolve her for 6 and she has Storm. Alright, so it's nice to see another 3-cost card that has Storm, but this evolve is pretty expensive, so let's see what we're going to be spending it on. Alright, and then we have Dionne Evolve, so she's still at 3/3, but she has a strike ability that when she swings, you refresh this follower and perform this ability only twice per turn. So I think this is a pretty solid Swordcraft legendary to pick up as just a late game card to play, and also just a 3-cost Storm card if you need it in that predicament. But I think this is a pretty good game ender for just basic Swordcraft decks for whatever deck you're building, just because you're able to swing for a total of 9 damage. Alrighty, and next up we have Roland the Incorruptible, so she's a 4-cost 3/4, and you can evolve for 1 and she has Ward, but when she comes into play you can choose one of the following. 1. Search your deck for a Durandal the Incorruptible, reveal it and add it to your hand, or 2. Put a Durandal the Incorruptible in your hand onto your field. Alright, so you're probably honestly going to want to go for that second ability so you can go ahead and get that price of 2 for 1, but it might not be that bad to go ahead and tempo if you're against maybe a mid-rangey deck or like a very massive control one where you want to do a 1 for 1, and then you can potentially evolve this follower and get those effects. And looking at Roland Evolve, so she turns into a 4/5, and at the start of your end phase, give your leader +3 defense, and if there's a Durandal the Incorruptible on your field, draw a card, while also on Evolve you refresh each amulet on your field. Alright, yes, you read that correctly. So on Evolve, you're going to be refreshing an amulet, so it looks like an amulet is going to be in play when playing this card, but also having this Evolve effect and having the end turn to go ahead and heal you for 3, and then if you have the Durandal the Incorruptible card, you can also draw 1. And next up we have Swordflash Panther, so it's a 4-cost 4/3. It has Rush, and when it comes into play, select a Swordcraft follower that costs 2 play points or less in your cemetery, put it onto your field, and give it +1 attack. Alright, so this is not that bad of a 4-cost to go ahead and play and get a 2-cost Swordcraft follower that might potentially have Storm or something else to potentially throw some more damage out on the very next turn that your opponent's going to have to definitely deal with, while also this card having Rush to be able to swing into your opponent's board. Alright, so I know I probably called it Durandal earlier, but I think it's Durandal. But I think Durandal is like kind of a funnier name for a sword, so we're going to call it Durandal the Incorruptible. It's a 3-cost amulet. You can activate to engage this card and choose one of the following. You can either 1. Select a follower on your field and give a +1 attack, 2. Select a follower on your field and give a +1 defense, or 3. Select a follower on your field for the rest of this turn and during each opponent's next turn. That follower doesn't take more than 3 damage at a time. Alright, so like I said before, it looks like you're going to want to use the second ability for Roland to go ahead and play this card out so you don't have to spend that 3 in 1 turn. And then using that activate ability for either maybe 3 or 2 to go ahead and give it extra defense, but making sure you can do the Roland Evolve so you can go ahead and get that extra 3 health at the end of your turn, and then having this card to draw, and then also refreshing this amulet to do it again. Alrighty, next up we have Azord, Duke of the Mist, so he's a 4-cost 3/4. You can evolve him for 3 and he has Ward. Alright, so looking at Azord Evolve, so he turns to a 4/5, he has Ward still, but on Evolve you select up to 2 Swordcraft followers that each cost 2 play points or less in your cemetery and put them onto your field. Alright, so it looks like Swordcraft is going to be taking a little page out of Abysscraft here when playing 2-cost cards from your cemetery. So now you can go ahead and play those cards from your cemetery, get their fanfare effects, or if they have Storm, you can go ahead and swing in for your damage and your opponent's going to have to answer your board. So that's where it looks like it's heading towards the Swordcraft line for this set. Alright, and next up we have Madlance Centaur, so it's a 7-cost 5/5, it has Rush, but when it strikes and swings, you select an enemy follower in the field and deal it 4 damage. So dealing a total of 9 damage to 1 follower, or in between 2 followers, however you want to do this with Madlance, but it's pretty nice that he has Rush, but it's kind of weird that he's such a big follower with these stats and then a strike ability like that. Alrighty, and next up we have Dance of Usurpation, so it's a 4-cost spell. You select any number of enemy followers on the field and deal 4 damage divided between them. If there are at least 10 cards in an opponent's cemetery, divide 8 damage instead. If there are at least 20 cards in an opponent's cemetery, deal 8 damage to each enemy leader. Alright, so a new spell card for Usurpation. So now we have some pretty solid removal, which was already in terms of Spine Blade some pretty good removal, but now doing it to multiple bodies on the board is pretty good too. And then 10 is usually the requisite, so choosing multiple followers to deal divided 8 in between is actually pretty nice, because now you can deal with a 5/5 and then also like maybe a 2/3 on the board as well. So I think this card is pretty good. Alrighty, next up we have Phantom Assassin, so it's a 1-cost 2/2. When it comes into play, if you have at least 2 assassin followers in your cemetery, give this follower +1/+1 and Bane. Alright, so I don't really keep up with most of the assassin cards, but it's nice that this card is a 1-cost that can turn into a 3/3 with Bane. Alright, next up we have Zealot of Usurpation, so it's a 2-cost 3/2. It has Rush, and when it comes into play, you put the top card of an opponent's deck into their cemetery. Then if there are at least 10 cards in an opponent's cemetery, put the top card of your deck into your EX area. Alright, so this card is actually really good paired up with Servant, just playing Servant on one and then playing this card right afterwards, and then you can go ahead and give that little buff to Servant, swing with it, and then if your opponent is either swinging aggressively into you, you can do that same play and then rush Zealot into a follower. Alrighty, moving on, we have Wardog, so it's a 2-cost 3/2. When it comes into play, if you have a commander card on your field, you deal 2 damage to each enemy leader. Alright, so yeah, I think this is pretty good. So when playing cards that are going to get your 2-cost cards from your cemetery, so playing cards like this or maybe a storm card, I think you'll probably want to go more for Wardog just because it's confirmed damage. You don't have to worry about quicks and everything. So I think this is going to be the 2-cost card you're going to be wanting to get from your cemetery. Alrighty, next up we have Mana Pistol Merc, so she's a 5-cost 5/4. You can evolve her 2 or evolve her for 0, and this ability can only be used if you have commander card on your field. So if you're managed to keep a stale commander card, which sometimes might be a pipe dream, but sometimes it happens, the cards just get through. So you're able to play Mana Pistol and then evolve her for free as long as you have a commander card, or if you don't, you're going to be evolving her for 2. Alright, so looking at Mana Pistol Evolve, so she turns into a 6/5, but on Evolve you select the enemy follower on the field and deal it 6 damage. So not only do you have a stale commander card for evolving for 0 if you're able to do that ability, but now you're able to hard remove a card with at least 6 damage, and if it's in engaged position, you're going to swing it for another 6 damage using Mana Pistol. Alright, next up we have Godsent Stride, so it's a 2-cost spell. You select the follower on your field and you give it +3/+2 and Rush. Alright, so this card is very good, especially if you're playing very aggressively. So you play your 1-cost card, if it manages to survive, you go ahead and follow up with this. So you have a big kind of beefy 1-cost card on the field that's going to be swinging for a lot of damage. Alrighty, and then we have Dionne as the UR, the evolved version for this set, and she looks absolutely beautiful. I know that they were releasing it on the YouTube Shorts thing that I really catch a little glimpse of every now and then, but I hope anyone that's going to be looking forward to pulling this card or winning this card can retrieve it. But alrighty soldiers, we are almost in set 8. I'm very excited to play around with all the new cards that are going to be coming in soon. I'm very excited to see what the set 8 meta looks like. But alright soldiers, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you appreciated the video, then leave a like, comment, or subscribe. But whatever you do, make sure you're safe in whatever you do tonight, and be safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Yeah. T-R-I-double-N. Just to get you away. What I got to do, what I got to do. Just to get you away. What I got to do, what I got to do. Just to get you away. You pull me too close, now we hesitate. Every single move you make, it makes me feel